1930s, and so on. So this one's right up there on the calculus of historical events, the bubbles and the burst. And it led the economy down into a hole from which we are still digging out. So, oh God, this thing. Okay, first I'll talk about the bubble, then the crash, and then the recovery, the non-recovery. Okay, the bubble. Well, before we can talk about the bubble, you have to realize that the 2000s already sucked. That's a technical term in economic geography, to suck. That means it did not do well. It was very weak growth. This is a chart of recovery from the recession of 2000, the trough in 2000, 2001. The average of previous cycles you see there. The 1990s, which everybody thought was so great, was really pretty sucky. And the 2000s were worse. That's number of months from the trough. So that's going on 2 years to that when that graph was made. GDP growth, that's gross domestic product. If you don't know what that is, that's your basic measure of output. Grew about 2.8% per year during that revival, which sounds okay, but compared to China or India, it's nothing. But historically, it's okay, but not very robust. However, if you took the housing bubble out, then growth was only 1.6%. So with a normal housing cycle, you might have gotten maybe 2% if you were lucky. And that's not so great. Anything in the 1% is pretty lousy. When you fall below 1%, it really sucks. What was worse about the early 2000s is there was no net job growth. There was no net job growth until just in the peak around 2006. It just about caught up with 1999. And then it collapsed. There was no wage growth. Household income was flat. Wages and household income aren't the same because you have more than one earner in a household. So for workers, the 2000s sucked. For capital, they were okay. And for finance, they were fabulous, as long as it lasted. Yes, sir?
What's the time frame of that graph? What's the average?
It's months. It's months from the trough of the recession.
No, but I mean, when you're averaging previous cycles, is it like from the 1900s? Like,
Oh, how many cycles they used? My guess is it's since World War II.
Okay.
That's my guess. I don't remember. I grabbed it, throw it on here, and I can't remember. I doubt it goes back before that because the data before World War II was iffier. So usually these kind of things, you'll see lots of graphs go back to World War II, but not many things go before, unfortunately, which is a tough one. People who are interested in economic history like me. Okay, so what happened in the 2000s was we financed our recovery. Now, actually, we did that in the 1990s and 80s, which I'll tell you about another time. But in the 2000s, it was extraordinary. So if jobs were flat and income was flat and wages were flat, how did you buy a house? You borrowed. How did you buy anything? You borrowed. And remember, George Bush told us after 9/11, go out and buy. We need to get that economy going again. Well, people went out and bought. They bought tremendously, but they bought on credit. And Ken Rogoff, who's written a very fine book on the history of economic financial cycles and their impacts, said, I quote, the U.S. recovery is the best money can buy. So people were using the houses. They were not only borrowing a lot for their houses, they were refinancing, tremendous refis, to have money to pay for their kids' college tuition, which was going up, to help their cousin or their kid buy a house, to pay off other debt, and so on. So house debt ballooned, went into other things, credit card debt ballooned, all kinds of debt ballooned, but so did government debt. Government debt ballooned because we were running a trade deficit and a budget deficit through much of the 2000s. Once George Bush got his tax cuts, we went back into the red at the federal level. So here's federal debt growing here by the trillions rather dramatically. So when you wonder about the debt debate and the debt crisis, that was building right through the boom. It's not just an effect of the bust. But there's debt, household debt, you can see, just going completely manic. You'll notice, however, it goes back to 1980 when it really started getting bad. But got really worse in the 2000s. I'll talk more about the 80s and 90s another time. Well, meanwhile, over in the financial world, all this debt and credit was circulating and being turned into new kinds of securities called credit derivatives, CDOs, and there were insurance securities. There were all kinds of double and triple securities basically built on mortgages. And everybody started speculating in these, and everybody bought them, and I think you know that story. I won't belabor it now. But there's a comparison of the internet bubble of the 90s, which is the light graph, and the tech and the housing bubble of the 2000s. And they look remarkably alike, because they were both gigantic financial bubbles. Because economic change doesn't look like that unless something is really whack. This is another comparison of the telecom bubble of the 90s with the banks, the bank capitalization. The banks all became incredibly wealthy, and then, whoops, and they fell off a cliff, as did the telecoms in 2000. Of course, in the middle, this money that was being generated on Wall Street and worldwide was being sent out to give people easy mortgages, what are called subprimes, which means that they didn't check their income, they didn't maybe there was no down payment, and people were getting into debt beyond their means, and the banks were letting them. And then, the adjustable rate mortgages, that's where you start at a low interest rate, and then it suddenly zips up after a couple of years, and you're paying $1,500 a month, and suddenly you're paying $4,500 a month, and you can't pay. And then once you get a recession, people losing their jobs, then even more people can't pay. And that's been the story of the housing crisis. But here's subprime, the growth of the percentage of subprime mortgages. It wasn't all about subprimes. It was about all kinds of mortgages, but you can see they went from nothing to almost a quarter of the market. And housing, promoted by all these people having easy money coming out of finance to buy houses, everybody was buying houses. And all the builders were building more houses for them to buy. So there was a huge boom. Tens of thousands of people got jobs as mortgage sellers or as real estate brokers in California. And California became the center of this bubble. We had the highest price rises, the greatest massive housing, the greatest massive value increase was in California. Now, it's true that Nevada and Arizona were a little bit worse, and Michigan had a little blip too, but Nevada and Arizona are basically suburbs of California, in case you haven't noticed. You know how Reno and Las Vegas got started? They were, when the gambling and the whorehouses were kicked out of California, they went across to Nevada. Now, of course, Las Vegas has really taken off since then, but it's all about gambling, and it's the single biggest market is people from LA. Anyway, Las Vegas has had one of the biggest bubbles, if not the biggest and biggest collapse. But for a whole state, and a big state, because Nevada is really puny compared to California. California's it. And I have a whole paper I've written on that, which you will have the pleasure of reading, part of your required reading. Meanwhile, back in California, people were promoting these. We were the kings and queens of fast finance, of mortgage hustle. And we had all the banks. The biggest mortgage issuer in America was Countrywide Savings. Where is it now? Bankrupt. World Savings was the biggest issuer of adjustable rate mortgages. That was in Oakland. Countrywide was down in LA. It was in Woodland Hills or something. And World Savings got bought up by Wachovia. Where's Wachovia now? Oops. Yeah, they belong to Wells Fargo. Why? Because they were bankrupt too. California did over half of all the subprime business. We led in the ARMs. And we had the biggest collapses. Washington Mutual, everybody says, oh, that's a Seattle bank, right? No, wrong. They bought about 6 or 7 California savings and loans to push out mortgages in the hottest market in America. Where's Washington Mutual today? Part of Chase. Why? It was the 4th biggest bank collapse in American history. Or was it the 2nd? It was the 2nd when it happened. Now it's 4th because Wachovia was even bigger. Okay, the crash. Hello, come on, clicker. There we go. Okay, suddenly, around 2006, 2007, people realized they couldn't pay. And banks realized that they were holding a lot of trash in these CDOs in their accounts. And everybody started to get cold feet. And mortgage rates started going, interest rates started going up for people's inability to pay started going up, and foreclosures started going up when people couldn't pay. The banks would foreclose on their house. So something like $6 trillion was vaporized. Now, we're arguing today, as you'll see, about maybe $2 trillion in bank bailouts, $6 trillion of households that would never bail out. Total loss in wealth was something like $13 trillion. And you wonder why people aren't spending on goodies, except iPads. Realty Track, this is a map of foreclosures. Look at that. Do we look good or what? Do you think foreclosures have a geography? Yes. Michigan is there, very strong. Florida, always strong when it comes to real estate bubbles and general insanity. And California, Nevada, Arizona, right? How about home price collapse? Gee, which were the biggest collapses? Well, it seems to be all the metro areas in California. And actually the biggest were the little metros. They don't even show up on this map. Modesto, Madera, Stockton, Bakersfield. California had like 10 of the 12 highest of all 300 metro areas in America. Utter devastation. You wonder why our budget doesn't balance. Okay, let's see, housing bubble. Well, this little housing collapse out in California brought down another geographic place called Wall Street, where it's just the center of the investment banks. These are the guys that handle the bond deals, who repackage the CDOs and the CDSs and all that stuff. And those big banks started collapsing one by one. In 2008, Bear Stearns collapsed, then Merrill Lynch was going bad, then Lehman Brothers very spectacularly collapsed, the greatest ever. And out of the 5 investment banks, 2 survived, Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, but only by turning themselves into commercial banks. Though they still do most of what they used to do. But basically, investment banking in America, which arose with J.P. Morgan, was always associated with Wall Street, which had a huge impact. I mean, J.P. Morgan helped invent the modern corporation with his financing. It's all investment banking just went poof. You think that wasn't a big collapse? But it had worldwide impact. It echoed from Wall Street to banks in Germany, the banks Iceland went under, Ireland went under, holding American property investment bonds. So we had to bail out not only U.S. banks, but European banks, and so did the Brits. And then the job wreckage was truly spectacular. This is job losses per month. The job losses were running as high as 700,000 per month. That's pretty massive. That's, it's up to whatever, 10 million people or something. Here's the unemployment rate shooting up. Wasn't that great before? In early 2000s, it was about 6%. But boy, it went up to about 10% nationally. And in California, it went even higher. Here's California, which has done worse. You see California unemployment, this goes all the way back, early 90s, 2000s, and now again. California's been doing worse, not better, as it did for decades. And let me show you a nice map somebody did on YouTube. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, I don't want air bears, you stupid thing. I don't want you. I don't know where'd my window go. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. All right, let's see if we can start this again. No, that's not what I wanted. Go back. Oh, piffle. Okay, hold on. I'll have to get the address again. That was really annoying. Okay, where is it? Go away. Go away. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's see if I can get it started. Sorry, this computer is so clunky. Oh, now it's playing. Stop playing, will you please? Go back. Okay, and now I'll see if I can get it. Oh, no, go back. Okay, here's unemployment by county starting in 2007. And you just see it getting worse and worse and worse. A nice map. See, YouTube isn't just dogs in hats. Now, where is the unemployment focused? It's in California. It looks really good there, doesn't it? California, the South, the Central Midwest. Looks pretty terrible. So there you are. I know. Hey, I didn't put that there. That's what it flashes to. Whoops. Oh, shit. Go away, oh, bears. I don't want you either. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so the job wreckage is highly concentrated, highly geographic as well. All right, now the recovery. Well, there's a lot of loose talk about our great recovery. Well, for the last couple of years, it's just driven me crazy listening to the business news because it's all about how great we're doing. And, whoops, I think that took 2. No, it didn't. Okay. Oh, man, it's never been this bad. I don't know why. It's just bad. Anyway. So it is a recovery, yes. GDP did start growing again late in 2009 through 2010. But there was very little net investment, very little hiring. And indeed, the only hiring there was due to the government stimulus. And it's actually the worst, it's even a worse job recovery than in the last recession, in the early 2000s. This is a nice graph that shows what employment would be if you're trying to keep up with population growth, because new young people like yourselves enter the job market every year, and this one it's actually doing. And it's been way below that for years. And it's now, and we hit, and that was already, this only goes to 2009, it was at 10 million jobs. But it's still there. Nothing's happened. It's still lifeless. GDP recovered, but the economy is still smaller than it was in 2007. The stock market went up. Here's the stock market predictions for 2011. Does that look like what really happened? No. Stock market has been falling, and the Dow is back down. It fell briefly into the 10,000s, and it's just bopping around. It'll jump 500 one day, down 600 the next day, and that's a sign that they have no idea what to do with their money. Well, once the stimulus ran out, the economy ran out. And then the other thing you see is they tell, you get these reports, well, GDP's doing really well. And then the official figures come out 6 months, 9 months later, and they go, oops, we just reconsidered that. It's not as big as we thought. So here's GDP, which back in 2007 was up here about 13 trillion and change, fell all the way down below about 12.6 trillion, crawled up about 13 trillion at the beginning of this year. And notice the previously published figures look a lot better. And here's an article from, I took this out of The Economist, 6 years into a lost decade. So we're basically doing what Japan did in the 90s, which is this is going to be 10 lost years. And it's going to go on for another 2-3 years of crappy jobs. And as Rogoff and others have shown, it takes that long. After major financial collapses, recovery is always slowest. Now everybody's talking about, are we in a double dip? Well, maybe. Here's the manufacturing purchasing index, which collapsed in 2009, then came back up smartly, so everybody's, ooh, it's going great. Then it went all flat, which isn't so great. And now, whoops, it's now going down again. So that's not a good sign. Here's GDP per quarter. You can see it was negative here for a couple quarters back in 2009. Then it started to grow again very modestly here at the beginning of 2000. Let's see, where is that? That's so fuzzy. It's hard to see. Yeah, shoot, so fuzzy. Sorry. It always looks better. Let me see if I can see on my screen. Yeah, that first one is 09. Let's see, where's it go? It's 09, first four, 09. So that's all of 09, the first four. So by the end of 09, it's really humping along here at a pretty smart rate, getting up there, to almost 4%, and then 3.2 here. Then it kind of falls down, kind of comes back up, and whoops, 2011, not looking so great. That's a very short recovery by any standards, and it's not going to be much better the next quarter, I guess. And this is why, of course, the Dow is plunging right now. It's because things aren't going so great. Oh, and California's unemployment's back up over 12%. 12%, 18% if you count underemployed. That is not full-time work. And if you go out to the Central Valley, it's in the 20s in almost all the counties out there. And in some of the towns, it's 30% or more. It's the Great Depression out in the Central Valley. And we're really insulated here because, talk about geography. The tech boom's doing great on the west side. East Bay, we're kind of okay, not as good. Go to the outer East Bay, massive foreclosures, mess. You go in the Central Valley, total meltdown. And it's the Great Depression out there. But we don't see it. Yeah.
Are these growth rates connected to the stimulus packages that they've been doing?
Well, I said, yeah, some of the jobs and recovery that we did see was due to the stimulus. Definitely.
If they don't you keep doing stimulus packages, the growth.
Well, that's what it has. You can see it's gone down because the stimulus is over. It's been spent. It's gone. And that probably was the main reason there was any recovery at all. And of course, the conservatives and the GOP want to say, well, the stimulus didn't do anything. Well, yeah, it did a little. What we had was what the stimulus did. And I'll say more about that. Okay, wait a second. Yeah, I'll say more before this is over. Okay. Now, I got a little carried away doing this part of the talk, political economy, because I love talking about history of ideas. I love talking about politics. So anyway, I got this outline. It's liberalism, neoliberalism, and the crisis of neoliberalism. Now, you will read this book by David Harvey, A Brief History of Neoliberalism, about basically the dominant neoliberalism is the dominant political economic theory and practice of the last 35 years. And that's what we live under. And a lot of people started saying when Obama was elected and things were looking up for Democrats, they said, well, maybe neoliberalism's dead. Well, it doesn't seem to be dead, but I think the stake has never been driven to its heart, and it's still going strong, much to our regret. Now, I first want to define what I'm talking about. Political economy is what economics was called for the first 100 years. Back in the 18th century, even back in the 17th century, the great early economists, like McPherson, from McPherson to Adam Smith, called themselves political economists, and right through David Ricardo and on. It only got called economics starting in the late 19th century, about the time it got the name of dismal science. So, hold on, sorry. So classical political economy was the first effort to try and figure out how does this new capitalist system work? What does determine investment? Why does productivity go up? What should be our policy towards markets? Why should markets be freed up? And the main lesson of these guys, they were all basically ideologues, that is, defenders of the rising capitalist class and the rising capitalist project, which was to liberate the market from the old ancien regime states, which was certainly true on the continent. In Britain, of course, there had been a revolution in the 17th century. So these guys were the spokesmen for that revolution. But they were read all over Europe. Sort of an obscure Scotsman and professor like Adam Smith could have become so famous because people around Europe wanted to know how Britain worked, why it was doing so well. And people in Britain, a lot of his bills and his fame was paid for by, I'm trying to remember now what that group is called. It's a merchants association in London. So this was the economics of capitalism emergent. And during that period, they took the political side and even the moral side of economics very seriously. Adam Smith's other great book is The Theory of Moral Sentiments. And it's about how a society should behave, especially given the kind of emergence of a market society and personal gain. And he had this whole thing about social responsibility, which, of course, you don't hear too much in neoliberalism. So Smith looks pretty good by comparison. But these guys were strongly political, and they weren't very good when it came to things like the rights of labor. They were totally antagonistic. Or the rights of small artisans not to be wiped out. Then in the late 19th century, a group of people in the United States, but especially Britain and France and Italy, Pareto, come up with what's now called economics, or it's often called neoclassical economics, say classical, neoclassical. And that's the dominant economics all the way to our time. And it's based around an idea of the market triumphant. That is the market, okay, we're in Britain or the United States in 1870, 1880. There's no question that capitalism is going to triumph. Adam Smith was still worried about that. By 1880, nobody in Britain or France or the U.S. is worried about that. So they're just analyzing how does it work. And since the market is triumphant, they're most interested in the issue of the market and how it works. Prices, equilibrium, market clearing, demand and supply. And that's what these guys like Walras and Marshall were interested in. How do firms operate? That was Marshall in a system of open competition and so on. Whereas Adam Smith was worried about could you liberate the market from the French state, for instance. Or Ricardo was worried about the aristocrats